New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you here this morning. It is Saturday, 9 a.m. on the Mountain Time Zone, and that means it is time for our Saturday morning Science of Mind and Spirit Conversation series. Please know this is intended to be an interactive program and a truly a conversation. So feel free to chat along and chime in. Good morning, Wayne. Good morning, brother. Good to see you. Glad you're with us. If you're watching on a replay at a later time, please feel free to comment and chat along as well. We'll make sure we respond as appropriate throughout the week. All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is going to be a very interesting day. I'm going to tell you straight up ahead of time. It's going to be interesting because we're going to be talking about a chapter called Mind, the Greatest Discovery. And if you're with us in the Science of Mind textbook, got mine right here. We're going to be talking pages 71 through 80 today. Now, I do want to, before we dive too deeply into all this, I do want to say thank you to Reverend Mark Gilbert for his talk last week on In the Beginning, God. And I had a chance to watch that. What a great talk. Thank you, Reverend Mark, for being a part of this and doing that. I look forward to his conversations throughout the year, as Reverend Mark will be with us again and again throughout the year. And next week, we'll be talking about chapter 3, and that's going to be Reverend Elzia will be with us on that. That's the chapter called Spirit. We'll remind you about that a little bit later on. So, as Rev Mark said last week, we've emerged from the basic introduction and what a lot of people call the first 4 chapters, but really that's just 4 segments of the beginning of the book, of the introduction. And I have shared it numerous times. My personal introduction to this book was those first 4 sections, all in one reading, one evening, waiting for my beloved to get home from an event she was at, and that was really my very first introduction to my deep dive. So as I kept going, I kept reading the book, and certain things they might get slip through a little bit. So as I prepared over this week and yesterday for today, I got to looking at this chapter, and I remembered, there's some things here. There's some important things here, and this is also one of those places where I believe the time has come to help Dr. Holmes evolve his language a bit. And I'm going to attempt to do that in our conversation around this chapter today. Get an opportunity. We're gonna get rid of some of this patriarchal, superior patriarchal language that's in here. You'll hear as we go. Good morning, Roy. Yes, I'll agree. It was an excellent, excellent, excellent talk, referring to Mark's talk from last week. So thank you. Glad you're here again with us today. Good morning. All right, folks, if you've got a beverage, now's the time to sit back, relax, enjoy the experience. I'm going to launch into this a little bit, and we're going to kind of go uh, not completely chapter and verse, but we're going to talk about a few things in here. And I invite you to follow along. And again, as we mentioned, please feel free to chat along as well. All right, mine, the greatest discovery. Yeah, right. We're gonna get rid of all this man, he, God, 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 God language in this chapter. So stay with me and help me out. Nothing is more apparent than that the one, as it now appears, is the result of evolution. Okay. Point being, we are each a result of evolution, not creationism, evolution. In studying our human evolution, it seems certain that it was necessary that we discover our true nature. So all evolution has been about the human experiencing and coming to understand our true nature. That is what I truly believe the science of mind teaches. Considering any of nature's forces, they must exist always. But so far as we are concerned, they exist to be used only after we have discovered them and learned how to make use of them. And his great example is electricity. Electricity exists, it never stops existing, and it never stops operating. It has what has happened is we have learned how to control what is true and natural. And we've learned that through time and through experience as necessary to keep humanity's evolution going and growing and expanding. So the first, we're on page 72 right now. The first great discovery we made was that we could think. If we think back to our early childhood, that's exactly how we started to become aware that we were thinking of what had to happen to get food, or even to let mom and dad know that we, needed to use the restroom, needed to go. It is in our awareness that we are that the spark of creation and life and all of it comes into being, not in what we are aware of. It's not that I'm aware of, yes, I'm aware of my surroundings, but it's the fact that I know I am that makes the difference. A little farther down near the bottom of 72, the basis from which man is evolving is infinite. Behind us is the great unknown, but not the great unknowable. As the result of the discovery that we could think and plan and act and execute things, we have built up a great civilization. We have perceived that nature works through us in order to work for us. Now, this is in many ways a huge distinction. And this is often where many people start to get lost and um, can start to misuse this philosophy and the law as it is. What works through us, nature works through us in order to work for us. Now, for me, this has always been a reminder that what pops up in my life, what shows up in my world, is not about me, but it is for me. It's so somebody throws something at me, a verbal jab or a accusation or something I don't like. It's not really about me, the being, as much as it is about how I'm going to respond to that. What am I going to do with that? And this is, in my my belief, this is, and my study of this philosophy over almost, well, a lot of years now, this is a stalwart type of statement. This is something we're going to see again and again and again throughout the year in different ways in Holmes's writing. In order to work for us, it must work through us. And it works through us in order to work for us. So, our greatest discovery is our ability to think and act and perceive. Our greatest discovery is that we are aware, and I trust we are aware of our awareness. There's a line in here, we're on page 73. We do not think, so behind the brain there must be a thinker. But where is the thinker? Who is doing the thinking? Who is it that's truly aware? Fun stuff, huh? Back of the organism is the thinker and the doer, the mind with a capital M. And remember, whenever Holmes uses a capital M, mind, and we're on page 73, paragraph 2, near the bottom of that section, wherever Holmes uses a capital letter, what he's talking about is the universal or the divine aspect of that word. So here he's talking about the universal mind, the divine mind, the mind of the one, the mind of all, that has its being, takes its form, expresses itself through and as the mind that is my mind, but it's still not me. At first, we did not perceive and thought only of our body as self operating. But when we discovered that was not the case, we found that we could consciously think and decide that something happening to our thoughts after we thought them. Something happens to our thoughts after we think them. They went somewhere, then they come back as a memory. What we think does not immediately manifest. And what we think, however, must, or the whole system would fall apart, must be a causative action, must be a causative force. What I think causes me to believe or behave or begin, or a, what I think is a causative force in my life. Now, we talk all the time that we we think all kinds of stuff. I wish you would just shut up. I wish the dog would just stop barking. We think all kinds of stuff that doesn't actually come into form. So it's not what we think that creates our experience. If it was, that'd be pretty messy. Yes, Fiona, being aware of my being or my expression of consciousness. Exactly. Exactly. And our consciousness is an individualized use or an individualized expression of the one. But my consciousness is a filter, no questions about it, because even though it is born of the one consciousness, because others have their consciousness works or thinks or believes or is influenced differently. So on page 73, also now in the section memory, memory must be the storehouse of all ideas that have passed through our mind. Memory is active, for my thoughts come back to me. My thought is conscious of my body is operating upon my thoughts, and it must be operated upon by my memory because since memory is active. Memory of itself is an unconscious operation of what was once a conscious thought. Think of that. It couldn't be any other way, could it? How could I have a memory of something that wasn't a conscious thought? That's that wouldn't be a memory. That wouldn't be my memory. We're going to talk about what that might be here in a little bit moment. But this is one of the most important conclusions which the mind of each has ever made. By changing our thought, we could remold our affairs, and by right thinking, and we're going to talk about that phrase in a minute here. And by right thinking, we could bring new conditions into our lives. Now, right thinking is not about right and wrong. Don't get into the whole that's right thinking, that's wrong. You can't think that way. That's wrong thinking. That, that's no. Yeah, that's part of what got us to the place of people asking each other, "What's in your consciousness?" And we've talked about that numerous times. How inappropriate how spiritually shaming that is. Remember, we're a wash. We are but a speck of life in the great life that is the life of the one. And we don't call bad things into our lives. There are things happening all around me that I am not conscious of. I'm not conscious of someone doing 80 miles an hour the wrong way on a one-way street. And if I were, I wouldn't be on that street. But if you're not, and something happens, that's not you calling that into your life. That's someone using this law, acting irresponsibly, misusing the law for personal benefit rather than for a consideration of the goodness and the safety and the security and the oneness and of the whole. That's not about you calling that in. Let's be clear about that. By changing our thought, we can remold our affairs. And by aligning our thoughts, we can bring new conditions into our lives. See, that's what he means by right thinking. It's aligning our thoughts with ourself, with our conscience, with each other, and with the divine flow of life. If I try to create something, and in the morning I get up and I say, I'm going to make it a great day, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do what needs to be done today, whatever my work is, but I'm going to go do this thing today. And then 10 minutes later, I start thinking, yeah, but I don't know if I can. I don't know if I really should. I don't know if I have the time to do that. I don't know if that's a good thing to do. And we start thinking contradictory thoughts to what we want, to what we wish to experience. Of course, we're not going to manifest or demonstrate what we say we want. We must align our thinking, align it with the good we seek. By changing our thoughts, we remold our affairs, and by aligning our thoughts, we bring new conditions into our life. Holmes, this is one of those interesting places. I don't know that I've ever seen Holmes cheer himself and his own idea at the end of a sentence, but there it is, page 74. He shares this idea and then says, tremendous. Like, I could just picture him on stage. Tremendous, isn't it? And but this really is in many ways the great discovery, the greatest discovery. By changing our thoughts, we remold our affairs, and by aligning our thoughts, we bring new conditions to life. Now, what's that condition going to be? I don't know. It's going to be the sum total of what we think and believe, what we hold to be true. But see, we can't be in the world and not be creative. There's an old axiom, even not making a choice is making a choice. You cannot deny your nature. And our nature is to create life and live it and get to live it. I'm going to jump over to page 75 here. And it's the second paragraph. The science of mind, then, is the study of life and the nature of the laws of thought, the conception that we live in a spiritual universe, that the one is in, through, around, and for us. There's nothing supernatural anywhere on any plane. That which today seems to us supernatural, after it is understood, will be found spontaneously natural. This is also important. This is part of that. I don't know what I don't know. And I know there's a lot I don't know. And if we stay in that place, then, and someone shared a comment earlier today that I was looking at in another forum on another place, and it was a science mind minister, and what they stated was, even after 30 years in this philosophy, I feel like I'm always still learning more. I absolutely agree. Whether this is the first time you've ever found this philosophy, this is all brand new, and you're sitting there going, "Who is this guy? And what in the world are we talking about?" Cool. And if you've been studying this for 30 or 40 or 50 or more years, even better. Because there is always so much more we can pull from these discoveries. Because the mind of the divine is forever revealing itself in greater and greater and greater ways. And as the mind of the one, as the mind of the divine reveals itself in these greater ways, it would be impossible for us, as an expression of that divine mind, to stay stuck in the past. You could try. This is what I'm talking about. You can try, but it's not going to happen. But it's not going to happen. And if truly, if fully, if you were able to just go sit and do nothing, not think, the mind would still operate. There's no off switch, is there? Even in our sleep, our consciousness is operating. We're just not aware of it at that moment. And sometimes we slip into an experience or an awareness of it, and we call that a dream or a nightmare if we don't understand what it's showing us. However, we have countless stories of people that have had horrific nightmares that served as a causative force to help them be aware of something that would happen in their future. And when it did, they were able to avoid the situation. No time in the mind of the one. I can know now what has yet. I could, you can, we can, all of us have the capability to have an epiphany, to come to a wisdom or a sense of knowledge or an intellectual aha at any moment that no one else has ever had before. And if we take that and we package it and we find a way to give it to the world and service it and serve humanity with that aha, well, that's what we do. That's how we do it. Comes in, we turn it into something. The science of mind is the study of life and the nature of the laws of thought, as well as the conception that we live in a spiritual universe. Now, that is also a big part, because if we come to a belief that this universe isn't spiritual, that it's all about money or it's all about power or it's all about, if we come to a belief that this is an evil universe, well, that's what we're going to experience. That's what we're going to put out, project. We have to know that we live in a spiritual universe, and that means that the thrust, the movement of the universe is always towards the good. It is always towards more life, more beauty, more understanding, more intelligent, a greater expanding expression of itself. That's what the universe is doing, and we're part of that. So in this, if there is something in our lives that feels like it's going against that flow of good, going against the flow, reverting us back to something, holding us back, holding us down, anchoring us. We've got a million ways to say it, right? When you feel that, that's the point that says, okay, hold on a minute. You get behind thee, and I'm going to go face and go find the good and go find how I can get into the groove of seeing, hey, that's a really shitty thing, but some good's coming out of this. Personally, myself this week, I've been watching the trial um, of the parents of one of our school shooters, and that in itself is a whole nother lesson and like a dozen talks just in watching that trial. However, what I want to pull out of there is even in the most horrific, there is something for good emerging there. A better understanding of mental health, a better understanding of why we don't give guns to kids, a better understanding of of how this planet, how the human must be evolving. There was a time on our planet when it was unquestionable. Everybody that could have a gun had a gun. Everybody gun. All the way back, it was the most technological thing. You weren't a success if you didn't have a gun. You had to get a gun. Well, okay, we're past that. We're past that. It doesn't need to be that anymore. Now we can move into a place where we create differently. And this science of mind is the roadmap that helps us to do that. There is nothing supernatural anywhere on any plane that which today seems to be supernatural, after it is understood, will be found spontaneously natural. The eternal principle is forever operating. We couldn't stop this if we wanted to. Now, over on page 76, coming into the home stretch here, folks. So stick with me. Keep the question. If you got the questions, if there's questions, comments, keep them coming. I'll answer as we go or answer at the end. He says in the first paragraph, this is what Emerson would have us understand when he said there is one mind common to all individuals. There is one mind common to all individuals. This, I love the reminder, and this is early on in the, so this is also, well, again, we're a good 70 pages in, but it's still early in the true quote of the book. That which is apparently outside can become known to the individual through intuition, because the perception and the perceiver must be in one and the same mind. No object can appear to exist in the objective world unless there is first a subjective world to perceive the object. Right? That's Holmes. That's Holmes saying in one sentence what we've been discussing for about 10 or 15 minutes here now, right? But that's okay. This is, we want to, I love to pull apart and compress Holmes. Pull it apart, see if I can explain it and understand it in several ways. And I encourage you in your study of this book this year to do that as well. That's what all of our presenters do very, very well. They help us to pull these things apart and look at them so we can put them back together in a way that we can use them. So it's at the top of our mind whenever we need it. Remember, the universe is nothing that's happening in your life is about you, but it is for you. That's how we get to those places, by continually reminding ourselves. And in this book, Holmes does the same thing. Um, he continuously moves us through the process of digging in and then taking the big view, and then digging in and taking the big view. The bottom of the page there, the bottom paragraph, images of thought, although they appear to arise from within, actually arise from the objective state of that which is part of the subjective within. In order that nature may be coherent and come into self expression, there must be an objective, a manifest world. And here's where it really digs in. But that which is physically outside of us still exists in the same medium in which we have our being. And the intelligence by which we perceive it is the same intelligence that created it. So again, there are things happening in our lives and around us that we do not attract into, that we don't call in, that we don't create, that are happening because they're happening as part of the one. And when we bump into those things, that's simply the one getting to know the one a little bit better. I get to know you a little bit better, and you get to know me a little bit better, even if we don't agree, even if we do agree, even if we have fun not agreeing. So therefore, what he's saying, while this whatever it is objectively separate from us, it is subjectively united with us. Our images of thought arise from within a medium in which both the one who sees and that which is seen exist in the state of inner unity. The God exists in everything, the one exists in me, and because the one exists in me, I am able to recognize other beings in whom the one exists. Many of us have heard the term namaste. The divine in me bows, and it's been translated in so many different ways. But the best I know is the divine, the original that I was taught was the God figure within me bows, honors, and recognizes the God figure within you. The one exists in everything, the one exists in me, and because the one exists in me, I'm able to recognize other beings in whom the one exists. Yeah. Spirit is the medium through which I am conscious of myself, of others, and of my environment. And then he speaks to the idea that we can, because of this, we play mental telepathy games. Wayne, I know that's one of your favorite phrases. I've seen you speak to that numerous times. We are constantly playing mental telepathy games with each other. And we know this is true because there's someone in your life whose thought you have finished. You have had that silent knowingness with someone in your life somewhere. Look across the room at your wife or your partner, your husband, or your child. We do this with our kids all the time, right? They know what we're thinking, and we can know that too. And we can, so there are times, and that's simply an alignment, if you will. That's us aligning our thoughts with a recognition that this is possible and it's happening. And if I tune myself to it, then I can become better at it. I can become better at it. It's all one. It's all one mind. The people. This is February. New Thought Media Network, we've been celebrating Black History Month all month long so far, and we're only halfway. We've got the other half to go, and not even halfway. And we're sharing 3 to 5 minute vignette videos, short videos, highlighting people in history who created or did or discovered something amazing, and just happen to be Black and are Black, right? And our our heritage does not give enough credit where credit is due at times, and especially to people of color. And so we're highlighting those, and I have had so much fun watching these get recorded and listening to them and getting them out there for you, because I am learning so much about people who had a divine idea. And then gave themselves to that divine idea and said, I'll do it. Let's go. Our literature is filled with what we call channeled works. Our literature is filled with the concept of mysticism. And a mystic is one who intuitively perceives the spiritual truth without direct experience yeah. That's a revelation. That's what we're talking about. On page 78 at the bottom, there is a law in the universe which operates in a certain way according to the tendency set in motion and does so mathematically inexorably. We cannot destroy the law, but we can redirect its movement. Just as we plant seeds and later decide we wish something else, we go out and uproot the first seed and plant others in their place. We are not thereby destroying the soil. We have simply determined to use it in a different way. We are dealing, when we are dealing with subjectivity, we are always dealing with that which is subject to the conscious volition, whatever it is. A great friend of mine said, you can never travel down the wrong road so far that you can't turn and go back. You can never travel down the wrong road so far that you can't turn and go back. I love that. Okay, I made a mistake. I planted the wrong seed. I wanted tomatoes. I planted corn. Corn comes up. Get rid of the corn and plant tomatoes. Okay, I planted a belief that I wasn't good enough. I planted a belief that I can't have that I'm not lovable. I planted a belief that I'll never be happy. I planted a belief that I'm destined to be poor. I planted a belief that you can't make money doing this. I planted a belief. I planted a belief. I planted a belief. But I can always uproot that belief and plant a new belief. I am worthy. I am enough. I am lovable. I do make good decisions. You can make a living at this. You can be successful at this. You can have it all. There's a line at the beginning of the movie called or somewhere later on in The Secret. I'm sorry, in the movie The Secret, which is what, almost 20 years old now. There was a line that caught me the first time I heard it. And the concept is, what would you say to a brand new being on the planet? Someone who's coming, a baby, the first thing a baby hears. What if the first thing that baby heard was, you can, welcome to Earth, welcome to planet Earth, you can do and have and be anything you want on this planet with this lifetime? What if we really instilled that from the very beginning? You can do and be and have anything you want on this planet. Now, as adults, that's true, but I know many of us weren't brought up in that with that thought, with that belief. But today we can make that so. Today we can change that. Today we can plant new seeds. We just have to use what we know and what we have in a different way so that we can come to know and learn more and review more of this great and glorious thing we call life. So down near the bottom of page 79, I'm going to attempt, like I said, I trust it hasn't been too invasive, eliminating the male pronouns and and eliminating the word God from this chat today. If it has, let me know, and I'll get better at it. I'll practice more. But near the bottom, there's a section called the threefold nature of the one. We find then, as we study our own being, we being to deduce that the nature of the one or the universal being is there is no way we can know the one except by studying humanity. Someone may say the one reveals itself. Yes, we think the one reveals itself to us, but only by revealing itself through us. There's that thought again. The divine is revealing itself through us. We know that the one, we know about the one only as we judge that the one must be by studying the nature of those things which we can somewhat analyze, plus that intuitive feeling we have of eternal verities. If we study the true nature of humanity, then we shall have delved into the real nature of the one or for first cause, from which the one or from which humanity springs. I'd like to talk for a brief second about that term there, first cause. I love the idea of first cause. I love the term first cause because it is the one. In prayer work, you will often hear me say that one self-existent cause. I use that as interchangeably with this term first cause. The one self-existent cause, the thing that sets it all in motion. The one or first cause. As we have found that humanity is threefold in its nature, we must deduce that the one is threefold in its nature. That the one is spirit or self-knowingness, the one is law and action, the one is result or body. This is the inner teaching of the Trinity. The one is self-knowing spirit, means the divine being whom we have always thought of and believed in, the being to whom we have prayed and whom we have adored. The one as law means the way in which spirit works. The law is, in this sense, would be the servant of spirit. And then the one as body means the manifestation of the spirit. For those that have studied the science of mind over time, this might start to sound kind of familiar to how we teach our teaching symbol: spirit, soil, and plant. The Trinity is our Trinity of being. And so to close, I'd like to read these last couple paragraphs here on page 80 in a more inclusive voice as well. And we're just about right on time, so please do share any final comments or thoughts you might have, questions you might have in the comment box. This Trinity of being appears to run through all nature and all life. For instance, there is electricity, the way it works, and its results, which is light or motive power. There is the seed, the creative medium of the soil, and the plant. Turn it as we may, we are confronted with the necessity of a trinity of being. Throughout the ages, this trinity has been taught. Every great religion and every great spiritual philosophy has taught this trinity. Father, Son, and Holy Ghost is the Christian trinity. It is the thing, the way it works, and what it does. This thing is absolute intelligence. The way it works is absolute law, and what it does is the result or manifestation. The action of the thing itself is what the Bible calls the word or absolute intelligence. Dear ones, you are absolute intelligence. I can't say it any clearer. You are an absolute intelligence. You are the divine expression of the one revealing itself as all. I like how, yes, Fiona, the one is monad, dyad, and triad. It's everything. Uh, and when you could call the metaphysical truth is the armor of it, could say is the armor of God or the armor of the one. I'd want to develop that a little more, maybe, than just say it. I think that there's a piece that armor implies the necessity to be protected from another portion of the one. And um, and while there are times, right now masks, we need in some ways to protect ourselves from other aspects of the one. I try to speak in parables and stories and lessons that refrain from setting up a concept where God might actually be attacked and need armor, if that says anything. Um, I like to believe, and I do, that we are all this infinite intelligence, this absolute intelligence, and we just are learning how to use it. And those that have learned how to use it and have practiced more than myself appear to be better at it, but it doesn't mean that they're better at it. It just means they've been doing it, they've been using it, they've been with it. There are countless opportunities in your life every day to live your truth, to be the divine truth of the one. Now, here's an interesting question. Robert Ward, where else in Science of Mind would you suggest lowering the masks we wear? Um, I don't know that there's anywhere in the Science of Mind that suggests we it depends on how you want to look at that question, because if we're speaking metaphorically, the whole book is going to encourage us to let go of the false appearances, of the old belief systems, of letting go of the metaphorical masks we wear. Nowhere in the Science of Mind would it suggest that we don't also follow prudent scientific evidence. And I'm going to leave that at that. Thank you. I hope that gives you something. And you're welcome to contact me following as well. So feel free to reach out to me following this as well if you'd like to have a conversation on a deeper level. Folks, anyone that'd like to have a conversation on a deeper level about any of this, please feel free to reach out. You can find, looking for the email address here at the info@ntmedia.org is the best way to do it. I'll make sure that I see it. You're welcome to connect with any of our hosts through that email, actually, and we'll get them to them. Also, as we're rapidly approaching the top of the hour, we try to make sure this happens, that we wrap up by 10 of. If we go a little bit over, that's okay, but we do invite you to visit the archives of this program on our YouTube page and on our Facebook page. You can use the hashtag New Thought Media Network anywhere to find more about our network and what we're doing. If you've enjoyed today's program, please do consider making a donation over on our webpage, ntmedia.org. Click on the donate, and if you would, make it a monthly contribution, and then we'll include you in our thank you video. What's our thank you video, you might ask? Hey, here's our thank you video.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferland Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Odgen, thank you for your very generous donation. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
just thank you to all of our committed donors and everyone that's making this network feasible, possible, happening. Those giving of their time, talent, and treasure, and yes, everyone that's financially contributing. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you. And if you'd like to become a member or join our committee giving campaign, please head on over to the website ntmedia.org. All right. I am Reverend Robert. I want to thank you for being with us. Now, next week, my dear brother Reverend Elzia is going to jump in on page 81 and talk about spirit. And what we've looked at here is the next couple chapters, the next three chapters are spirit, soul, and body. So Holmes has laid out for us this trinity of being. He has laid out for us this understanding that we are infinitely intelligent and that we have the ability to direct the power of the universe through our words and our thoughts and our minds. And now we're going to start breaking down that holy trinity of spirit, soul, and body over the next 3 weeks. So next week, it's my dear friend Reverend Elzia. The week after that, Dr. Tracy Brown, and body is Reverend Victoria Bomberry. Thank you, thank you, mine, for reminding me. Reverend Victoria Bomberry will be with us for that one. So we've got a great lineup over the next few weeks. Please join us again. Come back and see us. Check out the past issues. And next week, do us all a favor. Bring a friend. Let a couple other people know about what we're doing here on Saturday mornings. We'd love to have them join us as well. All right, I'm Rev Robert. I'm out of here for now. Until next time, peace.